I'm Megan Mitchell. This is my co-host, John Morrison, and you are listening to the True North Racing Podcast.
Time to strap in, pull those belts, and get ready for an action-packed episode of the True North Racing Podcast. Are you ready to unhelmet your favorite racers? Get ready for the most fun you'll have outside the racetrack to get you ready for the next race. You're listening to John Morrison and Megan Mitchell, and this is the True North Racing Podcast.
Welcome everyone to a brand new episode of the True North Racing Podcast presented by Driving With Hailey. I'm your host, John Morrison. This week is episode 143. Yeah, that's right, guys. Episode 143 of the True North Racing Podcast. We are going to get right into it. Let's get into this week's Pep's Pro Painting opening segment. I did not head off to a single racetrack. I don't think I even watched a single action of racing this weekend. But from what I've seen through social media and kind of what I've seen here and there, I have noticed there was quite a bit of, how should I say, action this weekend, I guess you want to say. You can definitely tell there was a full moon last night. Because when I drove home last night, yesterday my family and I, we celebrated my 32nd birthday. Yesterday was my birthday on Saturday. I don't talk about it very much. And that, if you guys were listening a couple weeks ago with Megan, we never, I kind of hinted about it that I don't bring it up. It's just the day I don't really like to celebrate very much, so kind of the minimal the better post and kind of like people reaching out. I don't know, I just not there's a lot behind it. I talk about it a lot with people who are close to me, so I don't necessarily I won't talk about it on the show. But yeah, we had a crazy time. It wasn't crazy. We had a lot of fun. We went down to Camp 31 barbecue located in Paris, Ontario. If you guys have not gone, it is a good place to go for barbecue. Picked up myself one of their Applejack barbecue sauces. I'm looking forward to having it, cooking some meat for myself and seeing what kind of food and whatever I can do to come up with that. And then afterwards we headed over to the Paris night market located at the Paris Agricultural Society Fairgrounds. And for people who know me, that's a place that holds the Paris Fairgrounds hold a near and dear heart to my heart, because growing up, my grandparents used to live in St. George, and one of the things we used to do is we would go the week before Labor Day. We would have the Harvey family reunion, which was my mom's side. We'd have a family reunion the week before, and then that week we'd usually spend time with my grandparents, and then we would go. Me, my brother, my sister. We would go help. Me and my brother would go help my grandfather in the poultry barn. My sister would go help with my sister, or my sister would go help my grandma in the arts and the craft section of the fairgrounds. And all weekend as well, we'd be there volunteering and helping out with the chicken coops, making sure they were fed with water, making sure there was no eggs in the cages for the weekend, and kind of upkeep and stuff like that, making sure there's bedding, stuff like that. And even just walking around yesterday, it was laid out kind of similar to how the fair is. So to me, it brought back a lot of memories, and it always does going to the fairgrounds. And I want to reach out because we've been talking about this with some friends of mine, thinking about doing like a Lost Speedways Canadian edition. Because it's not that far from me, I kind of want to go do the Paris Fairgrounds as my first one, because it didn't race cars. but there was a flat track motorcycle track down in the valley. I don't know if anyone knew about that or not. And I went, they would always have like a big weekend during the fair. They'd also have run, I think at one point they were like running weekly races on a Friday night there. And of course, same old story for racetracks across this country, across North America in general. People move nearby and they start complaining about it. And people just kind of shut it down. I didn't like it. I hated the idea of it. It meant a lot. Like the track, and when I walked by yesterday and I saw it and I was like, oh my God. It took a lot for me to look at it and be like, man, there was a racetrack down there. So I'm kind of wanting to talk to the Paris Agricultural Society, see if me and a couple buddies can go in. I want to do some research on it, and maybe we'll do a Canadian Lost Speedways. Um, I don't know. Maybe that's what we can do is we'll do a Lost Speedways. Me, Brandon Feeney. I know Michael Kenny wanted to be a part of it. Maybe we can come up with a weekend or something like that to try it out. See what can happen. Probably need 4 to 5, maybe 6 hours to get it done. And I think between all of us, if we can put our heads together and get some footage done, then I could put something together. But yeah, other than that, we had a lot of fun celebrating my birthday. Barbecue was delicious. So like if anyone's looking for some great barbecue, I highly recommend Camp 31 Barbecue, located in Paris, Ontario. Um, went there for the first time last year. It was so good. My youngest son Maverick, he loves that place so much. Um, I was what was it? All for the past year we've been talking about it, and every time we do, all we do is have to mention ribs. He starts drooling and he goes, oh, the ribs, Camp 31. And I'm like, you little. Yesterday we were joking, so we were finishing up, and yeah, my young, he just looks at it and goes, Jacqueline was grabbing his plate, moving stuff around so we're kind of cleaning up the table a little bit. And she's like, oh, I think you missed something. Picked up. No, it was just this, it was the bone. He had cleaned his ribs clear of any meat. It was absolutely hysterical. I love him for it because he loves ribs, and it's insane. Um, but other than that, like, yeah, the racing action from what I saw this weekend, I'm wanting to sending out some speedy recoveries to Layla Walser and to Corey McAllister. I heard they had some pretty bad gnarly wrecks this past weekend. Hope they speedy recoveries, and hope we see them at the racetrack in the coming days, in the coming weeks or months, or maybe hopefully sooner rather than later. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, it was a nasty weekend for wrecks. I saw a car get airborne at the Toronto Indy. And some of the wrecks that we heard about over the weekend was just unreal. And I hope everyone stays safe. We're away from the full moon now, so hopefully we can start playing nicer again, I guess you could say, and we don't have any more rough incidences moving forward. Let's get into this week's Driving with Hailey vehicle spotlight. This week on our vehicle spotlight, we got a 2021 Chevrolet Silverado 1500. I'm talking to you, racers. If you're in need of a new pickup truck, here is one for you. It's an LT Trail Boss with 56,777 kilometers for a pickup truck that's 3 years old. That's pretty darn good. It is a 4-door. It is a 5.3 liter V8, 4-wheel drive. Exterior color is gray. Seats 5s, 4 doors, as I said earlier. Low kilometers, tow hitch, keyless ignition, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and rear view camera. That means you don't need a second person to help back up that trailer to the race car hauler. Looks like a 6-foot bed is attached to that. It is dual exhaust, beautiful looking pickup truck. Again, I'm in the market for a pickup truck. I'm always in the market for a pickup truck, but not for a Chevy. That's just my preference. But this sucker will look good in anyone's driveway. If you guys are, like I said, I always say this, if you guys are, it's even got I think it got a tunnel cover. Yeah, it's even got a tunnel cover attached to it. Look at that. Get to store some of your race car stuff in there as well. Keep it nice and dry. Just kind of going through the pictures as I go through go on here. It is a great looking vehicle, nice and clean. Oh, backup camera. Yeah, you only need a second person to back up to the trailer. Yeah. So, as I always say, if you guys are looking in the market for a brand new vehicle, or not even a brand new vehicle, a new to you vehicle, contact Driving with Hailey by messaging her on Facebook at Driving with Hailey. You guys can also give her a shout at 289-808-2828, or you can also email her at hhill@rightride.ca. Once again, that is 289-808-2828 or hhill@rightride.ca. Tell her I sent you. She'll hook you up with a good deal on one of these vehicles. And as always, if you do not like the vehicles that I'm showing on the program, reach out to her. She will find a vehicle that you are looking for at a great deal. Doesn't matter if you got good credit, bad credit. She will help you get behind the wheel of a car today. So give her a shout once again at 289-808-2828. And that is our Driving with Hailey vehicle spotlight. This week on the program, we are being joined by Brody Plotz. I really hope I say that last name correctly. And I really hope I say this correctly. From Yurishi Media. Now, he will tell me if I am wrong on that. I really hope I said that correctly. He is a photographer who takes some photos out in at Brockville, Ontario Speedway. At Brockville, Ontario Speedway. I have looked over some of his photos. He has done amazing photos, absolutely insane. I'm going to throw some of them up on the screen right now to kind of give you an idea. So he reached out to me and asked if I wanted to have him on to talk about photography, because it's not something that I take photos, but I use my iPhone. So any photos you see me posting is with an iPhone. I don't have an expensive camera. I don't have expensive lenses, but I can take decent photos. But I can't take the photos that a lot of these photographers can, and I know I can't. So I'm excited to learn about how he got involved into photography and why he chose motorsports photography at that. But yeah, we are going to have a lot of fun with Brody tonight on the program. And what he does in there's so much to cover. And this is the first time we ever had a photographer sit down and chat with us on the program. So like I said, I'm excited for this. This is going to be a great episode to have fun with. Other than that, I say let's bring in this week's guest on in our graphic design studio guest segment. Let's welcome Brody Plotz. All right, like I mentioned before our break there, this week on the True North Racing Podcast, we got Brody Plotz joining us. Brody, how's it going, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for joining us this week on the program. We're excited to learn. We're excited to learn about the photography side of business, because that's what you do. I threw up some of your photos during our intro, and some of my favorite photos that I've seen you take, and we're excited to learn about everything photography wise, about how you got into it and stuff like that. So why don't you take a couple of seconds here and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm 27 now, and I don't know, kind of got into dirt racing more so heavily recently, and same with photography. Ever since COVID, I kind of took a liking to photography and developing myself there. And yeah, really during COVID, came across Formula One through the Drive to Survive, and really noticed the art that can kind of go into racing, and decided that was kind of a path I wanted to go on. And yeah, that's how I'm here.
Nice. And you've been taking photos over at Brockville, Ontario Speedway. How did you get involved with that?
Oh, so last year actually, the Brockville Speedway, they posted up that they needed a track photographer, and one of my friends who races there, he tagged me in it, and that's kind of how that got set up. The guy Henry, before, I guess he was at the track for a very long time. I mean, I was going to the track when I was less than 10 years old, and I remember seeing him there. So he's been there for a very long time, and he's well known there. So I don't know, it was kind of an opportunity for me to take on his legacy and kind of develop the photography at the boss.
So you just mentioned that you've been going there since you were younger than 10. Uh, so how old were you when you roughly went to your first race there?
Oh God,
Trust me, I
probably
know that feeling trying to think back that far.
probably like 4 or 5 years old. Like I remember when I was so young that I don't know, after it got to like 10 o'clock at night or something, I was sleeping there. I was sleeping in the bleachers when cars were going around the track. So yeah, that's how young I was.
And so you've been going there for quite a bit, obviously. And what drew you into the dirt world? What drew you into that kind of racing?
Well, honestly, in our area, the dirt track is pretty much all we've got. There's not really asphalt tracks close by. We have Shannonville, but it's probably about 2 hours away. And then we've got the Capital City near Ottawa, but that closed down. So I don't know, dirt racing like local to me. And whenever I was growing up, that's where my parents took me. So it's kind of more so etched in my blood than asphalt.
Hey, I mean, there's nothing definitely wrong with that. Uh, so like, how did you get so in 2020? Obviously, everyone kind of had. I feel like a lot of people took a reset with when COVID-19 came out. And we were going to talk about that before we got on here, and that's kind of how you got into photography a little bit. Um, when did you develop a passion for photography?
Honestly, well, it stems from before COVID, but COVID's kind of where I decided to kind of take on the motorsports path.
Okay.
Was around there and car photography specifically because that was my hobby at the time. But photography for me stems back probably about a good decade or so. I used to really enjoy architecture, and I'd go to like Toronto or these big cities and take architectural photos, and I really enjoyed that. So setting up compositions and everything with that is a challenge, and I found it fun. And yeah, that's kind of where it started. And it started from an old Canon Rebel T3i that my dad had been gifted from his work for retiring. And it was, yeah, during COVID is whenever I started taking it serious and found another camera for myself and continued on.
That's awesome. That was actually gonna be my next question. Is kind of like, what was your first camera? Um, so obviously, yeah, like that's kind of cool that you got in. You started off with architecture, and then for you know 10 years or there or so, and then got into car photography. What's been the biggest challenge for you learning between the architecture to a car photography? What's the difference? Tell us a little bit about tell us about
Well, the toughest thing is cars move and buildings don't.
it.
So to nail the shutter speed and get the motion properly captured in a photo is much harder. I mean, motorsports photography is probably the toughest type of photography that there is out there. And to capture it effectively, it's tough because I'm taking thousands and thousands of photos every night, but I'm only left with so many because when you're trying to capture that motion, you end up losing a lot of it, and a lot of the cars become blurred or whatever. So yeah, I mean it's tough, but architecture, yeah, it's much easier. The buildings are standing there, you can kind of move around and set up your composition and whatnot. But yeah, motorsports is a good challenge for me.
I was gonna say you get to move for the buildings to get the right shot, where the cars they're just doing the same thing each lap, but you got to find that sweet spot to be able to make sure you get the clearest photo, so that when we see it online or the people who purchase these print them or whatever, it's that moment in time that you capture that all the that the reason they fell in love with that photo.
Absolutely, that's why I do it, is to kind of please people and kind of show them a picture that makes them go wow and kind of captures a moment that can be embedded in their brain forever.
Yeah, we know some great photographers out this way in Ontario, out towards, uh people who have Flamborough and Sunset. We got Dave Franks. We got Thompson Photography. Um, we got Ashley McCubbin. We have 19 Marketing, Melissa there. And then the one thing I've always noticed is the different styles between each photographer. You guys are shooting the same stuff, but you're always capturing different moments. Um, so when you're shooting motorsports, especially, are you trying? This is gonna sound weird because I like people who are able to tell stories on certain things. Are you when you take a photo, are you trying to capture a story within those photos?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what I look for when I'm taking a photo. I mean, it really comes down to timing in motorsports. Like if you're catching a crash, or maybe a guy crashed and he just got out of his car and his arms are up in the air and he's showing emotion. I mean, that's what I'm trying to capture, and that's what ultimately tells a story. I could take a picture of a car on track all day, but it's something that happens that is what people are going to remember by the night. They're going to go home remembering the crash that happened or whatever, right? So yeah, I specifically look for those kind of photos when I'm out there.
So when you go home at the because I know we've gone from away from actual um film for cameras, and we've gone to the digital format. When you go, so you have these SD cards or micro SD cards. I can't remember what you guys use in your cameras anymore. Um, you'll end up with thousands of photos. If you take, let's say, 1,500 photos, how many photos are you roughly left with that either can tell your night, like your night in pictures of kind of what you shot, or how many photos are you left with it by the end of a night after editing and everything?
Yeah, so on any given night, I usually end up with around 1,300 pictures plus.
Holy.
Some nights, depending on when it is or how long the track race is, or how many classes, or sometimes I can be up to 4,000. I mean, that takes a really long
Jesus
time to go through.
Christ.
So I don't really want to do that. But it also comes down to what kind of photos I'm taking. Like if I'm trying to get kind of artistic with it and implement some light trails or anything like that, it's going to be the capture rate is much, much lower than a faster shutter speed type of photo. So, I mean, I could try to take 300 shots just to capture this one photo, you know?
Yeah,
Um, but at the end of a weekend, like a end of an event, lately it seems like I'm getting about 300 plus photos that are quality and can be delivered. I should probably lower that, to be honest, because it's just a bit much. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of file storage, right? Like it takes up a lot of space. Um, so I try and aim for 200 or just shy of that is probably ideal, but I never really want to pass up a good photo, so I'll always include it if it's there.
absolutely. You never want, like, this is gonna sound I don't. One of the photos I've taken that I'm still really proud of is a photo I took of Kyle Steckley's car. And I didn't take that many that day. When I was at the track that in 2020. Was it 2020? No, 2021. Sorry. I took one photo. I think it was practice day at the end of and I put it up on social media. At the end of the year, Kyle Steckley reached out to me and goes, "Hey, you know, can I take that photo and put it on canvas and put it up in the race shop?" I was like, "Holy crap!" The one photo that I took that I actually thought was really freaking good, he wants to go and hang it in the race shop. 3 years later, it's still sitting up in 22 Racing in the race shop at 22 Racing.
That's awesome, man.
Um, do you have any moments like that where drivers like, "Hey, like, we want to get this blown up onto a bigger canvas or something like that to hang up in our shop"? Have you ever had any drivers do that? Ask you for stuff like that?
Yeah, usually like victory lane photos kind of thing is mostly what people are after. But there is this one driver, Bobby Harrington, who races at our local track. He was actually the sportsman track champion last year, and he's won it many times. He's a quality driver. But he does a lot of the graphics and stuff for a lot of the cars at the track. And
Okay.
so we see his name everywhere. And at the end of the year, he likes to do up like a calendar for his sponsors and people like that. So I send him like my high res photos, and he includes them on there with my watermark. And he actually sent me a calendar for free last year and with all my photos. And it was pretty cool to see that I have that. Like, that's my calendar for this year. So I haven't seen many prints of my photos themselves, but when I do, it's pretty like surreal that like this is my photo. It's pretty cool.
That's got to be a pretty cool feeling when the like not even when they when the drivers purchase a photo, but to be able to kind of see it in its entirety of what they had envisioned with that particular photo. Um, Probably does feel pretty good, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And especially with the camera I shoot on too, it captures so much detail that my photos can be blown up very, very large, and they look good. Like Xavier Perrin, another driver in the sportsman class, he got I sent him a picture for his sponsor. He made up these banners that go on the back of his car and stuff.
Okay.
And I actually took a picture of it last night when I was there because it was my first time seeing it. But I was like, it's just so cool when you see your own photo like blowing up, and yeah, it's so neat.
Yeah, definitely. It brings. I feel like it brings appreciation to what you guys do as motorsports photographers. Is when um, people in the industry use these photos for good reasons, for like making banners, for making calendars. It really helps out.
Absolutely. I mean, that's kind of why I do it. Going back to that is like you take these photos for these race teams, and they need weekly update photos that they post on their Facebooks or whatever. So, I mean, supplying that with them and giving them these photos also serves a purpose for me and to kind of grow the dirt racing scene around here.
Absolutely. Which is where we're gonna get into next here. I'm gonna butcher this, and I know I'm going to butcher it. How did Yurishi Media? How you? I probably said that wrong, didn't I?
Yeah, it's technically said as Yureshi.
Yureshi.
Yes.
Okay, because I know I said that wrong during my opening as well. So I even said I'm really I know I'm gonna be I'm just gonna sound absolutely stupid when I see it and hear it, but now I actually see how you spell how it's sounded, and now it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Uh, so how did it come about?
Yeah, so that name was actually an idea that came to me during COVID, actually, when I was kind of more in the car scene type of thing. I wanted to build a brand around photography, and that's where the name came from. Um, but the reason behind the name, or the meaning behind the name, is it actually means happy in Japanese. And
Okay.
at the time in the car scene, I was really inspired by Japanese vehicles. So it kind of fit perfect for me. And yeah, I had these big brand ideas in my head going off. So I mean, things kind of changed from the car scene a little bit to motorsports, but I decided to just keep the same name because why not? And hopefully it sticks.
Well, it's definitely a memorable name, which is awesome because I feel like that's what you need is a memorable name for people
Absolutely.
to remember. Um, it's crazy that that came to you during, when you were in the car scene, and uh, because it's so cool that that means happy in Japanese.
Yeah.
Like that makes
Yeah.
so much sense, and I
Yeah.
love it. That it that's so cool.
Yeah. I even had the idea like when I was shooting car scene stuff, like my brand identity kind of thing would be like a U for Yurechi,
Yep.
but I'd put two little dots above the U so it looks like a smiley face. And I was kind of going to go with that. And yeah, obviously that changed.
Yeah, that would have been so cool though. I love it.
Yeah.
Um, so what kind of gear do you use to shoot the photos?
Oh, so actually, I'll start off with my recent purchase. I just got a new lens a week ago for an event I attended.
Okay.
Um, it's a Sony 200 to 600 millimeter zoom lens, so it's really long zoom range.
Yep.
So it's not ideal for most things I shoot, but it does give me those cool shots from different places that I kind of want to get. The cool thing about that lens is it's internally zooming. So whenever you zoom it, it doesn't extend. So AKA I'm not going to be capturing dust in it and sucking in dust when I'm at the dirt track. So
Yeah.
that's a big plus. But besides that lens, my go-to lens is a 35 millimeter to 150 millimeter lens, f2.8. So it's good in low light. It's perfect. It's perfect for the Brockville Speedway and most tracks I go to get those kind of close shots, but also little bit zoomed in and stuff when I have to be farther away from the cars. And then my camera, of course, it's the Sony A7R3, 42 megapixel camera, I think, and that's what gives me the quality to blow these pictures up and not lose anything. Big benefit of that camera also is what I have a huge habit for is cropping every single photo. I crop in quite a bit on most of my photos actually, but that's kind of more so because I'm a perfectionist and I want to nail the composition. Although it deteriorates the quality a smidge, the camera provides such good quality that it's not even noticeable. So yeah, that's how I get my photos.
That's awesome. Uh, One of the things that we don't always notice with photographers is the risk that they take by being out there, either in the infield, close up to the fence, because I saw a couple photographers. Was it? Oh, back in June, they they wore the vest. They were allowed to go down to the infield, and one of them got within mm, 3 feet of the racing service. And if a car got loose coming out of four, they would have hit him. Um, Trying to get a photo, but other than that, like there, and we see tracks all over the place. They have barriers you can't go near. You can only go so far. What kind of risks do you take as a photographer, um, standing, especially in the infield? What kind of risks do you guys take for being down there?
Oh man, anytime there's cars on track and you're around it, there's a risk. Anytime a car can come off track and come right at you, and you always got to have an escape plan where you're standing or whatever.
Yep.
And I never really push my limits. I don't try and get too close to the cars or anything. I might get the fancy photo up close to the track if they're under yellow and they're four wide or something, like get that cool shot. But
Yeah.
I mean, the track knows it's caution. They know I'm not stupid enough to stand there when they go green. So I mean, you kind of have to have good judgment, and of course, you want to be on every track's good side. You don't want to tick them off.
Yeah,
Um,
you don't want to do that.
but if they got a problem with you, they'll come through the radio, and someone will bring it up to you, and just you gotta listen to them. And I mean, you don't want to put anyone's life in jeopardy or anything. So it's better to just be stay back and stay safe.
Yeah, you don't want to. You want to keep. That's the one thing you want to keep. Stay in the track's good books. You want to make sure that they understand that you're not doing anything stupid, and that they know you're not going to do anything stupid out there,
Yeah.
to jeopardize that. But you're right. Like if you're pushing a limit, they'll come over and let you know that you're pushing a limit. Um, on race day, I can guarantee you, just like anyone else, race day is the most hectic day to make sure you have everything before you head to the track. Because once you're at the track, you're at the track. You're not leaving to go back to pick up something, because you can't just turn around and go grab an SD card from the grandstand side or anything like that. So tell us the process on race day and what you do to get from home to the track and afterwards. What is that process like for you?
Well, I'll start with making sure all of my batteries are charged and my SD cards are clear and ready to go. Because, yeah, that's a photographer's worst nightmare is not leaving the house with those things. So, yeah, that's a big thing. But most of my morning, because racing is obviously in the afternoon and the evening, most of my morning is getting that stuff ready and making sure my bag's all packed and ready to go, and I'm not forgetting anything. Making sure my filters are on my cameras and everything's there and ready. I usually show up to the track around the time the pit gate opens. I like to be there whenever teams are rolling in. I mean, anytime there's a car coming out of a hauler or something, there could be an opportunity for a photo. So I'm usually maybe not the first person there, but I'm there pretty early before a lot of the race teams get there. And throughout the course of the night, it can be long, especially with the change in temperature and of course the mosquitoes coming out once once the moon comes up and it gets dark. But yeah, that's a battle in its own. But yeah, it can be long, especially into the features. If we have a lot of classes running or something like that, and lots of cautions, it can go on and on and on, and you kind of just want to get out of there. Sometimes when it's really late too, I almost start getting groggy and like I'm just ready to go home. I'm starting to get a headache because I'm around these loud cars all the time and stuff like that. But yeah, I still enjoy being there, and the whole process is amazing. Um, when it comes to after race day, though, is where a lot of the process takes place too. Like I said, my camera takes really high quality photos, so these files are large files. Each picture is about 82 megabytes. So anywhere from any night, I'm like 200 gigabytes plus of photos
Holy crap.
that I'm importing. And thankfully, I just bought a external hard drive, 14 terabytes. so so I'm covered for a while.
Are you sure?
I'm sure, yeah. But yeah, you need that space whenever you're doing these kind of things, and you just pray to God that that never fails or anything, because that would really screw me up. But yeah, so importing the photos onto my computer and then processing them can take a long time. I've gotten quicker this year with actually processing my photos. There's been circumstances where I can shoot an entire night at a racetrack. I go home. I basically start the import of the files, go to bed because it takes hours for them to
Yeah.
import. And then I can sit there and go through each photo in the morning, figure out which ones I want to edit them, crop them, everything, and sometimes have them up at nighttime. So a quick turnaround time is ideal, but last year was tough. I'd sometimes have 2-3 days before I could really get photos up. And keep in mind, we race Saturday nights too. So on Sunday, if I ever want to do something, if I want to go see family or something, it sets me right back. So
Yeah.
I mean, not only is a photographer gig at a racetrack a Saturday job, but it's also a Sunday job. Like I'm like 12 hours plus on a Sunday of just a computer bones. It can be tough at times.
Absolutely can be. Like when I know when I go do when I go shoot our day at the races vlog series, um it's what I can never believe how many gigabytes of data I've used. Because I'm thinking like, oh yeah, like it's not that much, and then I start moving all the videos over, and it's like, oh, I used a lot more than I thought I did.
Yeah.
But I do the same thing as soon as I get home. Like if I'll like this weekend, like I'm coming this Saturday, I'm going to Sauble Speedway to shoot our newest day at the races with one of our drivers. And he like we're spending the night at the track because it's about a 3-hour drive there and a 3-hour drive home. And we're there at the
Mhm.
track for about 6 to 7 hours. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not coming home that night. And we'll be doing out like when I get home on Sunday, I'll probably start uploading the footage that I got from my SD cards from Saturday night. I'll start putting them onto the computer while I'm recording next week's podcast likely. It's
Yeah.
unreal the time and effort. Because people see, and this is the one thing I think I don't mention a lot of because I try to keep race day interactions to a minimal because I'm usually working for someone that on the day of is you really gotta people don't really realize when you're there you're working already. And
Mhm.
if you if they kind of if they and a lot of people like to talk to you, and it's great to have conversations, and there's times where it's like you may have just missed a photo opportunity, or uh it's sometimes it's crazy to think that when we're there it's not all it's that's the fun day of everything, but that's also when we're trying to get everything so we have the content throughout the week to be able to show everyone the work that you guys put in on Saturday night and show it to everyone else as well.
Absolutely. I mean, there's always an opportunity for a photo. So, um, almost anytime you're not taking a photo, sometimes it feels like wasted time. Not saying that it is. I mean, conversations with your drivers and stuff are always important, and you want to
Absolutely are.
build those relationships. But yeah, there's always a photo somewhere, so you still got to be consistent and get your job done.
Exactly. Um, yeah, I can't believe you bought a I have a terabyte hard drive here and I haven't filled it yet. I'm almost there actually. I need to that'll be an off-season purchase probably is upgrading some of my stuff that I got. But speaking of the off-season, I know we're in the middle of the season. The season's not done yet. Um, for a guy like yourself, what does the off seasons entail for a motorsports photographer?
Well, you wouldn't believe this, but I actually set my camera down all winter. There's not much for me to take photos of. Now, whenever we're talking about the off season for the Brockville Speedway, it's kind of nice because Brockville ends in August, minus a big event that they have in October called the Fall Nationals, a great event. But that gives me all of September and usually into October or so to kind of venture out to different tracks. So I'm still, especially this year, I'm planning to do that a lot more. Go to different tracks. I think that would greatly increase my skill level and to see different things and shoot different angles. I mean, it's going to keep things fresh and different, which I'm excited for. And always seeing different cars too, and getting photos of different cars is fun. But in the off season, like when we're talking wintertime, actually, yeah, the camera's down. And my main side job kind of thing I do is actually I referee hockey, minor hockey. So that's what I do in the wintertime.
Nice. That must be pretty fun.
That could be
Unless
fun. It can be
unless the parents
hectic.
start yelling at you.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah.
Now here's a weird question. How many racers do you see in the off season at these hockey games?
Oh, it's not many.
No?
Mainly because I'm in minor hockey, right? So I'm doing
Okay.
younger kids. But I know I've ran into a couple this past year.
Okay. Yeah, because it's always one of those funny things. Like I could just imagine the maybe like some of the racers that are their kids are playing hockey and they know who you are, and I could just feel like there's more taunts that they can throw at you from that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that's kind of cool though. You said that you kind of set it down and you take on another task, which is always good to see is when because I feel like if you ever get totally consumed by something, it may actually hurt you potentially down the road. And sometimes it's nice to take a break um, and kind of hit the reset button before you go back at it again the following year.
Absolutely.
Uh, now I know I'm going off your list here, which there's nothing wrong with, but I actually before we go any further, I want to get into our tailor to you. Here. Oh no, you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I moved a computer and um my headphones and microphone crapped out on me here. So I lost all hearing for a second. But we're gonna get into our tailor to you median design fan question period. As you saw earlier today, we were gonna have you join us on the program, and we got a few questions for you. Are you ready to answer them?
I'm ready.
All right. First one comes to us from Instagram. It's William_Trillium. He goes, "What's your favorite racing division to photograph?"
Oh, that's tough because I haven't exactly photographed everything yet. But I'd say our local track, it's probably got to be the modifieds, just because they kick up so much dirt and they whip around pretty fast. They got a lot of angle and pulling wheelies and stuff. Like it's pretty unique, and I mean that's what I grew up watching, so I enjoy that. Um, other types of classes like asphalt and stuff like that have their own challenges. I personally find asphalt much harder than dirt track photography personally. Um, but yeah, I'd probably say modifieds. Missed out last year on the 360 sprint cars due to rain actually, and we were scheduled to have them earlier this year, and we got rain again.
Oh,
So they're they're coming again August 3rd. So in a couple weeks time. So I'm excited for that. Whip around the track pretty fast. And then hopefully a 410 sprint car show at some point is in my future.
That'd be pretty darn cool. I have yet to go to like a World of Outlaw event or anything like that. I think that would be actually a lot of fun to go to. Um, our next question though comes to us from Devin Hewitt, and he goes, when will the Subaru be finished?"
Oh, I hate this question. All my friends ask me. So I had a Subaru. I bought it a few years ago, and the motor went on it. And I've been in this big plan to get a big motor, high horsepower motor built for this thing. And it was kind of my dream at the time. Obviously, actually, whenever I lost my car because the motor went, that's when I more focused on this dirt track photography thing. But to answer the question, it should be ready at any moment. It's been 2 years in the making now. Um, I keep getting updates from the guy building my motor when it's supposed to be done, and he's kind of let me down in that regard, and it's taken a lot longer than it should have. But hopefully soon, and for sure by fall.
That's that. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see that sooner rather than later. I love. I told you before, these kind of questions are help me find out who you are as well, and they're just fun little stupid questions um, that are just fun to ask and just kind of see what your answers are. And our last question comes to us from Jay Hunter Photography, and he goes, "What is his favorite dirt track to shoot at, and why?"
Yeah, so this is my buddy Jared actually. So whenever I don't fill in at the boss and I'm away for a certain night for whatever given reason, Jared actually uh, comes in and takes care of the photography for me. So shout out to Jared for providing the track photos anytime I'm not there. I appreciate that. But to answer his question, I gotta say it has to be Brockville just because it's my home track, and that's kind of what started out for me when it came to watching races when I was young to getting into dirt track photography. The Brockville Speedway kind of did it for me. Um, I have shot only a couple other tracks so far, and I really enjoyed them. Got cool shots from both Cornwall, which is a really nice facility, and Brighton Speedway, which is also really neat because they have so much outfield to walk around and take photos from. So there's a lot of options at that kind of track. So I look forward to shooting at every track. I don't think I've necessarily nailed down a perfect favorite track ever because I haven't seen that many. But to answer the question, it's got to be Brockville.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up our Tailor to You meeting design fan question period. Of course, we got to thank everyone for submitting questions. Make sure you guys tune in every Sunday at roughly about noon to see who our next guest will be and where to submit your questions. And of course, we got to thank this week's guest for answering those questions. So thank you, Brody, for answering those questions for us.
Thank you. Thanks to all the fans for submitting questions.
It's crazy that segment of the show has been on now for 142 episodes out of 143.
Wow.
It has only missed one episode.
Was it the first episode?
It was the first episode, actually.
Yeah.
I did the first episode with a good buddy of mine, and I was like, okay, we're just gonna shoot the crap for about an hour and just see what kind of happens. And and the next day, a friend of mine listened to it. He goes, "You should really do a fan question period." And I'm like, "Yeah, I think you're onto something." And ever since then, it's been a staple on the show. So, um, again, we get some really funny questions, especially if like depending on who the guest is. Like usually get like a laundry list of guest questions, and they're just like absolutely pointless. No, just they already
Not
know
even
the answer,
related.
but they just
Yeah.
want to ask it because they know I'm gonna ask it.
Yeah.
Um, like one of them I think was like the return of the Little Ray 500 or something like that for Ray Morneau Jr. Um, they there's a video on Facebook about it from like the one here where the guy absolutely got pummeled and like thrown 6 feet away from the racetrack that they were racing on. And they're like, yeah, it was only a one and done thing, and we were like, we may have to bring that back again. But no, it's like I said, it's one of my favorite segments, and it's always nice because it gives me a chance to learn a little bit more about you from your friends and family who want to tune in and listen to it.
Right on.
Getting back into our conversation though, we this has been definitely a lot of fun, and we're of course we're going to learn more about you, um, and how this create, because there's so many moving aspects of the motorsports community that not a lot of people outside of it really realize. And that's one of the fun things that I like to bring in on the show is why, you know, we all have day jobs. A lot of us have day jobs. A lot of us work two jobs just to make ends meet, to go racing or to do crazy things. Um, and I feel like this gives it a chance for people to open up about themselves a little bit more, to so that we can learn, because that's one of the greatest things about our community is that I think that's one of the biggest stigmas we have as a community is that we're all a bunch of rednecks with no class.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, that could be the farthest from the truth, because I know drivers who are lawyers, drivers who are doctors. Um they're some are blue collar, some are white collar, some own their own business that aren't even in the motorsports community. It's crazy how we have this stigma around motorsports, especially like dirt track racing and oval track asphalt racing, that we're all just a bunch of dumb rednecks who like this sport, when that could be farther from the truth, because we
Yeah.
always meet interesting people. We can meet those dumb rednecks, and let's be real, we know a bunch of them, but we also know a lot of people who are lawyers and doctors and accountants, and but they love the idea of racing, and that's why they do this. And it's one of those things. You were shooting architecture photos 10 years ago, and now you're shooting motorsports photography. Even though it's still photography, it's just a vast change in the equipment, I guess, and the time it takes to take some of these photos. Um, and again, it's one of those things that really helps us learn more, because half the time we don't always know who the people are either behind a camera, underneath the helmet. And that's one of the reasons why we have this show, is to be able to talk to people like yourself, because there's so many moving parts to the motorsports community. It's not just drivers, it's not just crew members, it's not just teams, it's not just track owners. You got to think of the concession people, the track support, the support workers, the uh safety crews, the timing and scoring, the photographers. There's so many moving parts to actually make a weekend work. And again, it's one of those great things is that we're able to have a guy like Brody on, because we've never had a photographer on the show before, to be able to tell us about the motorsports, the photography and motorsports landscape. Because hell, I didn't even know. I see a good photo and I'm just like, that's a great photo. So, Brody, it's great to be able to chat with you, continue to chat with you here about this background.
Absolutely. And thanks for having a platform for people to speak about things. Like you said, there's everybody in this realm of motorsports and dirt track or asphalt, whatever it may be. Everyone does it for the love of the sport. These drivers are going out there, they're racing because they love the sport. These fans, even the fans, track safety, all these people are, it's like a synchronized orchestra of people that just love the sport, that make this show go on. And obviously, thank you to everyone that does any kind of job, if they're a fan, if they're watching, even if they're sharing things on Facebook and don't actually go there because they can't for whatever reason. I mean, everybody in this realm is what kind of makes it continue to grow. So thank you to all those people.
Absolutely. What is some advice you would give to other photographers?
Oh, kind of a loaded question in a way. But comes down to just keep grinding. I mean, there's going to be times where maybe you feel a little discouraged or anything like that, but you kind of just got to put your head down and keep doing your own thing. I mean, you're not really doing this for the paycheck. You're not really doing it to please people. Otherwise, well, you might be, but you're ultimately doing this for yourself. And I think the best measure of yourself is your growth and trying to push yourself to do better. So if you're a photographer, try and get those different angles, get into those different areas where maybe someone else isn't getting a photo. Try and take something creative that not everyone sees. That's what's really going to get you noticed. That's what's going to be the wow photo when you're going through your photos at the end of the night. Those are the photos that kind of jump out at you, and that's ultimately what we're after, is to get those kind of photos. So keep grinding and stay at it.
Brandon Feeney, I'm talking to you, buddy. Um, I got a buddy who just jumped out of a race car at the end of last year, and he's gotten into the photography side of it now, and he's been learning quite a bit this past year. So I'm sure he'll be tuning in to listen to this to see if he can get better, and because he's done some pretty good photos. I've seen a lot of his photos lately, and he's getting better. Um, but yeah, it's great to see more. It's one of those things, you can never have too many photographers because there's always going to be someone who misses a piece of the action.
Oh, preach to that. I mean, any track, I think, any track that denies photographers or anything, they're silly. Really, especially in the dirt track scene, you want photographers there. You want people to see what's going on. You want to showcase the environment or showcase the cars going super fast. Like, that's what's going to bring fans there. So any track that denies photographers, I think they're out of line. But that's not really the point of that comment. But anyways.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when we see stuff like that, or depends on like what the I don't want to get into and start political, I guess, debates, because I've been because sometimes tracks have their favorites and they don't want to give that up to anyone else, and um there's other things as well. So we're not, well, we won't jump into that. Um but let's jump it back here. We you know, we always say we never do it for the love. We do it for the love of the sport, not for the love of the paycheck. But for your time and effort, what is what do you make per photo, or what do you make on a photo on a for taking photos?
Well, the track pays me themselves just to show up basically. It's not much, but I'm getting into the track for free and I'm getting paid on top of it. So I kind of see the value in it a bit more.
Yep.
Um, I'm also really the only money I have involved in doing this is the gas to get there. So ultimately, if I'm getting something, it's better than nothing. Um, now, some drivers will reach out and they'll want certain photos for hero cards or something like that, and there's a little bit of money to be made there, but it's not how I make. There's not really much to be in this at all. Usually, just drivers will tip me if they see me in the pits or even compliment my work. I mean, like I said, I do it for the love of the sport. I don't really do it to chase a paycheck. So, I mean, obviously, getting paid would be nice, and if I could turn this into a full time thing, I would. But I'd probably have to go to NASCAR or something like that to make that work.
Honestly, man, I feel that it's just the same way over here. I'm trying to you get so far, and then you just kind of want to make a little bit more money so you can do it full time, and then because the way I look at it is, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Hmm.
And that's I love what I do right now, but I hate my day job half the time. So if I can change my full-time day job to what I'm doing right now, I'd be in heaven every single morning.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm kind of blessed in that sense. I do like my day job, so uh, doing this motorsports photography is just the icing on the top.
Absolutely. Uh, what are some of you, what have you done recently, photography wise, and what kind of have been a few of your recent shoots you've done?
So actually, just this past weekend, July 12th to 14th, I was at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for the IMSA race. So that was very exciting. Big learning curve for me, being the first asphalt race I actually shot at. But I was absolutely stunned by that track, the facility, the elevation in the track, the changes, where you could go from a general admission ticket. You can see this entire track with just a basic weekend ticket for $65. You can walk down pit lane and walk right past drivers, probably get signatures if you wanted. You can walk across a bridge when cars are on track. Yeah, so that facility, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, absolutely amazing facility, and I recommend it to any race fan. Um, I'll probably be going there again for IMSA next year, and I know it's kind of a goal for them to get the Cup Series there. So hopefully, if we see that there, I'd probably attend that as well. Otherwise, other tracks I've been to, it's mainly just been Brockville for the weekly show, or I show up to Cornwall every once in a while. Usually, if maybe Brockville gets rained out or something, I need something to do. I need to scratch the itch and get to a racetrack. So, yeah, I've really only been to Brockville, Cornwall, and then Canadian Tire Motorsports Park recently. But the rest of the year looks promising for me, and I'm hoping to see some new tracks, and I'm excited for that.
I was gonna say that's gonna be my next question here is what does your upcoming schedule look like in terms of tracks you're gonna be heading off to?
Yeah, so one show I'm really trying to get to, although I'm not too certain if I'll make it there based on recent news I got actually this morning. This Sunday, the World of Outlaws series is racing at Weed Sport Speedway. I really like to get there for my first 410 sprint car show as a photographer, although I'm not certain it will happen based on the media credentials and all that stuff behind the scenes. Um, but other than that, I'm hoping to get to Can-Am Speedway before the season's done. They're just a dirt track speedway across the border. Um, Weed Sport's still on my schedule for probably the Empire Sprint Super Series Challenge. Weekend is a track I really want to get to in September for their big event. I think that's
Okay,
going to be really cool.
hold up. If you get down here, because you're talking about their end of the season nationals, right?
Yeah,
Okay. All right. If you come down, let me know. I am gonna be there on the Friday nights.
perfect.
So we will have to meet get together and meet in person.
Absolutely. I'll let you
You
know.
have to let me know.
Yeah, that's the goal for sure. I really want to get there this year. It's a very nice facility. Have you been there?
Yes, I have multiple times. That is my wife's favorite facility.
Oh, I don't blame her.
I've taken her to 4 different dirt tracks, and Merrittville's still her favorite because that's the first time I've ever taken her to a dirt track was Merrittville. In 2021 when Oswego is still closed, but in 2022 we had started going more frequently to Oswego, and she absolutely loves it. It is a beautiful facility, front, back, does not matter. You are welcomed. You are treated very fairly. You are treated nicely. You feel like you're walking into a world class facility, in my opinion, when you walk in, whether the back gate or the front gate.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It's pretty wild the facility they have there. And I mean, I watch the G-Force broadcast on Fridays and just like the lighting on that track. This is what I see as a photographer because I got this eye. The lighting on that track is so evenly spread and perfect for photographers. It looks like you can be anywhere on that track and get a good angle of a car. So
The
that is
track is
huge.
always lit.
Absolutely.
There is no dark spots on that track.
Yeah, and that's ideal for a photographer.
Oh yeah, it like I see the photographers and how like they get up to right up close to the concrete barrier in 1 and 2 to in 3 and 4 to take photos of the cars coming through the as they enter the turn, and it's just absolutely unreal the shots that they can get from being that close.
Yeah, that's a huge help too, is having a concrete barrier there too, because I know a few tracks that have those, and you can get up close and get some unique shots, but not where I'm from. I kind of gotta stay back a bit.
No barriers to keep you safe. You just got to keep your eyes and ears open.
No, we got the tractor tires, the infield tractor tires.
I'm sure. Yeah, you don't want to stand right behind one of those when a car comes at it.
Oh God, no. If you're not getting hit by a car or hit by a tire, you're getting splashed with the water that comes out of it.
Oh man. Anywhere else are you looking to get to this season before the end of before the season wraps up in October and November there?
Yeah, so in September, I got a few more tracks on my schedule or that I'm looking to get to. I'll probably go to Brighton's Apple Fest again this year.
Oh,
I was there last year and really enjoyed shooting at that track, so I'll probably go back this year. Another couple shows I'm really looking forward to is the World of Outlaws at Williams Grove in October. Um,
okay.
Iconic racetrack I really want to get to, and of course the 410 sprint cars like the Outlaws is pretty surreal. So hoping I can get media credentials for that shoot. And then Oswego Super Dirt Week actually lands on my holidays this year, so I'll plan on going to Super Dirt Week and shooting that. So that'll be exciting. And to finish it all out for the season, it'll be Brockville's Fall Nationals, October 18th and 19th. Um, if you ever go there, bring your snowsuit. It's cold.
I can imagine the weather there, because especially during our end of year race down here, which is Frosttoberfest, and that usually runs the first week in October or even autumn colors. Same kind of deal. You got to bring a snowsuit.
Yeah, yeah, it gets cold, especially whenever the temperature drops and the sun goes down. It's something else, especially that
Don't
late in the year.
don't get me started. The I don't think I'd gone. No, I did go. I in 2021 when when Flamborough opened up fully, my kids and their grandparents came down to the racetrack with us for the day, and well, they came later than me and my wife did, as I had to be there at 4 o'clock. They came down about 6 ish, and we thought that they were like, oh yeah, like it should be fine, blah blah blah. Oh, were we wrong? Oh, that sun went like it was nice and warm all day long. As soon as that sun went away, I didn't pack. I wear shorts. I never wear pants to a racetrack ever.
Wow.
I cannot wear pants to a racetrack, and I think partially because when I was crewing for a team in Delaware, um, to go over pit wall, you had to wear pants.
Okay.
So I was like, and the team color was like you had to wear black pants, black shirt.
Oh, so you're just burning in the summer.
I'm a big boy. I've never been a small guy. Like I was just dripping.
Oh,
So
yeah.
once I was done with that, I was like, I'm never wearing pants again to a racetrack unless I absolutely have to, unless it's mandatory. I am wearing shorts. And I fought hard on that day, and I still never put on shorts or put on pants because I didn't bring pants. But when I got back to the car that night, I cranked the heat. I don't think I turned it off all the way home.
Yeah, that's what it's like when you're going to race events in October. You're going home shivering until just praying you heat up. But
Yeah, you're finding out if your heater finally works after.
yeah, yeah, your bones are literally freezing.
Exactly. Uh, well, we're just about at our hour here now. I do want to give you a few minutes to be able to thank everyone uh, from the person who helped get you into photography. Um, I guess whoever you want to thank, feel free to take a few minutes here and thank anyone you would like to thank for getting into the motorsports photography to Brockville, Ontario Speedway. You can now have the floor to yourself for the next couple minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of people I could thank if I listed them individually, but we'll start with family and friends, my girlfriend, everyone at the racetrack, whether it's drivers or just crew members or whether it's track promoters or safety crews or anyone. Everyone at a racetrack is nice and friendly to me. I get compliments all the time. They kind of spark that interest and the excitement in me to stay motivated. So anyone that ever likes, shares anything like that, other photographers at the track as well. Literally everyone I see on a race weekend. Thank you for just showing up to the track, saying words, whatever.
All right. Well, it's definitely been a pleasure chatting with you for the next little bit here, and I hope to see you at Oswego in September.
Yes, I hope to see you there too.
Well, you go enjoy the rest of your night, and thank you so much for joining us this week on the True North Race podcast.
Perfect. Thanks, John.
And we're back from our conversation with Brody Plotz. We had a lot of fun chatting with him. It was great to understand the motorsports side of, or the photography side of the motorsports community. And if you haven't checked it out, go check out Uresha Media on Facebook and Instagram. Tons of great footage. He's even got a website. Go support him, purchase a photo. Yeah, like I said, we had a ton of blasts. We had a huge time. We had so much fun with him. Even afterwards, we chatted with him for a little bit. It was great chatting with him more. And I hope to run into him at Oswego Speedway and chat a little bit there. But before we go, I do have to give a big special shout out to Jacqueline, as she for my birthday, she made a Dr. Pepper cupcake with a Dr. Pepper frosting. It is absolutely delicious. This is going to be my second one of the weekend. It was absolutely delicious. I'm going to eat this one as soon as we're off the air tonight. She wanted me to show it on during the program, and I was more than happy to oblige. It tastes delicious. It's so moist. Man, it's so good. But I got to thank everyone who has helped us out in the program. We're gonna be working on a few other hidden behind the scenes here. Maybe for 2025, you'll see 3 or 4 new shows coming from Joe Media and Promotions. Who knows what'll happen for next year? But if you want to be a part of it, please feel free to reach out. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about our plans, our goals, and what we plan on doing in 2025. So, of course, but we got to thank all our sponsors with the True North Racing Podcast and Joe Media. They're the ones who really make this show happen each week. Got to thank Driving With Hailey for bringing us our podcast, being presenting sponsor of the podcast. Peps Pro Painting for bringing us our opening segment. Graphic Design Studios for bringing us our guest segment each week. Taylor Media Designs for Fan Question Period. Wilds Printing. One Night Marketing. Valhalla Mobile. Georgetown Princeton. Vision 20 Studios. Stickers and Scuffs. And of course, Lift the Visor. If you would like to be a partner, if you'd like to partner with Joe Media Promotions, please feel free to reach out to us at jomopromos@gmail.com. That's jomopromos@gmail.com. Yeah, let's wrap up this show. Let's get out of here. Next week on the program, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. I'm gonna be back at Sauble Speedway for a race with Ty Cavlin and the number 7 Ford Mustang TC Racing Team. I think that's gonna be a third night. I know it's weird to say because we're gonna be at the end of August, but it's gonna be their third night of racing at the Speedway this year. Thank you to everyone who purchased Joe Media Promotions t-shirts this year. They will be coming shortly. We put it in the final order the other night. So we'll let you guys all know when those shirts come in and how to get a hold of us to pick up or deliver them. Other than that, you guys, that's gonna do it for us this week on the True North Racing Podcast, presented by Driving Hailey. Make sure you guys find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and as well stay up to date with everything going on with us at jomomedia.ca. I hope you all have a great work week, and we'll see you guys next time on the True North Racing Podcast. See you guys. Night under the lights, hear the engine rooming by. Smell the gas and feel the vibe, going into overdrive. Drop the flag, then the car zooming by. Hey, True North Racing, let's go.